Good morning, everyone.
Good morning.
Thank you for coming out in the gray, rainy morning. I'm Linda Lloyd, and I'm the presiding officer assigned by the board to conduct this portion of the Category 3 license renewal hearing for Woodlands Fayette LLC, doing business as Lady Luck Casino. And before we begin, if we could all turn off or to vibrate our cell phones and other electronic devices. I call this hearing to order. The date is Wednesday, October 26th. The time is 10:30, and the location is the Wharton Township Municipal Building at 114 Elliotsville Road in Farmington, Pennsylvania. The Pennsylvania Racehorse Development and Gaming Act requires at Section 1326 that an operator's license shall be subject to renewal by the board every 5 years. This license renewal hearing is convened by the board pursuant to the mandate found in Section 1205B1 of the Gaming Act, which requires the board to hold a public input hearing for any license renewal application. This public input hearing was advertised on the board's website, announced by the board at public board meetings, and advertised in local newspapers. We have 3 board members with us today. To my immediate right is our chair, Denise Smiler, and to her right is Commissioner Fran Regan, and to my left is Commissioner Frank Dermody. The hearing will begin with a presentation by Lady Luck Casino with cross-examination of witnesses by our Office of Enforcement Counsel, and then any questions the board members might have of the witnesses. The Office of Enforcement Counsel will then make a presentation, again with cross-examination of the witnesses by Lady Luck Counsel, and any questions from the board. After testimony and evidence from the parties, those individuals who have registered to speak today during the public comment period will be heard as their name is called, and we have one person who will be speaking at that point, and they will have about 5 minutes to provide their thoughts. Following the close of the public comment, the parties will have the opportunity to provide a short closing statement if they wish. All our witnesses today are reminded to speak loudly and clearly into the microphones that are provided so that our court reporter who's sitting over here can hear you. If you would also state and spell your name for the court reporter before you speak, so she knows who you are. So let's begin today by having any witnesses from Lady Luck Casino and the Office of Enforcement Counsel who will testify today. If you'd please rise and raise your right hand to be sworn by the court reporter. I will turn it over to Lady Luck for their presentation.
Director Lloyd, Chair Smiler, Commissioner Regan, Commissioner Dermody, good morning. My name is Kevin Hayes, Kevinhayes, of the Savior Law Firm in Scranton. I represent LLN PA LLC and Churchill Downs Incorporated, who serves as the management company for the Category 3 gaming facility known as Lady Luck Casino Nemacolin. On behalf of Lady Luck Casino, I'd like to welcome you to Farmington and Fayette County. As Director Lloyd indicated, we're going to offer a presentation this morning as part of this public input proceeding. And here are the topics that we will discuss during our case in chief. First, we're going to provide you with an overview of the resort and casino and the number of positions we offer and the various amenities offered. In addition, we'll discuss the economic impacts from casino operations, our diversity initiatives, our efforts to meet the compliance requirements of the gaming board, the tourism impacts, community service, and we'll conclude our presentation today by introducing 2 leaders in our local community who will be offering testimony regarding the impact of the casino on the local community. We have a number of representatives here today from Lady Luck Casino, Nemacolin Resort, and Churchill Downs Incorporated, who I would like to introduce in no particular order. First, we have Michael Mayer, Vice President of Gaming Operations for Churchill Downs Incorporated, Oz Sharif, Corporate Counsel for Churchill Downs Incorporated, Trey Matthew, who's seated to my left here, the Managing Director at Nemacolin Resort, Next to Trey is Gary Hendricks, who is the former Vice President and General Manager of Lady Luck Casino, and he now serves as Vice President and General Manager at Presque Isle Downs. We have Marianne Rutherford, who is the new Vice President and General Manager at Lady Luck Casino. And then we have George Henderson and Christina White, who are both casino shift managers at Lady Luck Casino. I made reference earlier to the local community leaders who are here. We have Fayette County Commissioner Vince Vicendez and Donna Gamble, who is the Executive Director of the Laurel Highlands Visitor Bureau. At this time, I'm going to turn over the presentation to Trey Matthew, who is the Managing Director at the Nemacolin Resort. Trey?
Thank you. My name is Trey, T-R-E-Y, Matthew, M-A-T-H-E-U. I am the Managing Director at Nemacolin Resort. And on behalf of the Hardy family, including Maggie Hardy-Knox, our president, all of the associates at Nemacolin, we appreciate the opportunity to address the board. So thank you very much, Chair Smiler and other members of the board here today. We appreciate that. I'd like to take the opportunity to talk a little bit about Nemacolin Resort. Nemacolin Resort was first purchased in 1987 by the Hardy family, Joe Hardy, our patriarch. And in that time frame, in the last 35 years, this is our 34th anniversary, we've grown the resort pretty tremendously. It's known, and especially recently, which we'll get into in a little bit, as a world-class award-winning resort. 320 guest rooms. We have championship golf courses and a myriad of other amenities and activities, which we'll talk about. And it's located on about it's about 2,300 acres in southwestern Pennsylvania. Annually, the resort hosts about 350,000 guests from 48 different states and 6 countries, and approximately 1,100 employees. Annual payroll at the resort is about $36 million, but that really just scratches the surface of what Nemacolin really is. As I mentioned before, there are less than 1% of resorts in the world that carry a 5-diamond, 5-star designation, of which Nemacolin has both a restaurant and lodging facilities that do such. As I mentioned before, Nemacolin is an amenity-rich property. It was built, the original lodge of just about 35 rooms was built on almost immediately by the Hardy family and has continued to grow. And one of the reputations we have in the nation, if not the world, is a representation of our amenities. We've grown them tremendously for a resort the size. My first year at Nemacolin was 2002. I was the general manager from 2004 to 2010 and thought I could find another Nemacolin out there at a different region, a different property. I left for 10 years and had the opportunity in July of 2020 to come back to the resort, and it was a no-brainer. The resort it doesn't exist anywhere else. I've worked for private ownership almost exclusively throughout my 35-year career, and the property is special. And what makes it special are not only the amenities and activities, but the associates of the property. But speaking of amenities, as I mentioned before, we do have lodging at the facility. We have not only 5-diamond, but 4-diamond facilities as well. Banquet space, we have a decent amount of banquet space, and we do everything from family reunions to weddings to corporate groups and incentive groups, which we've seen a tremendous uptick in the last 12 months on. The restaurant collection consists of 12 restaurants and lounges, and we keep on increasing that. In fact, we've just opened Baratolo, which is relatively new to the property and open 7 days a week for our guests. Golf courses and golf academy. I think the last time we addressed the board in 2016, we were in the process of building out the Shepherd's Rock golf course. It's Pete Dye design, and we finished that. And it's matured and has been written up as one of the best public courses you can play in the state of Pennsylvania by Golf Week magazine, as well as Mystic Rock actually showing up in the top of the courses you can play according to Golf Weekly. Hiking, running, biking, it's a great place in the Laurel Highlands, and we work closely not only at the property but also with the surrounding areas for some of those areas, including bike riding on the property, which has grown significantly since the pandemic hit. We have the Woodland Spa, a 4-diamond, 4-star facility that's located on the property as well. 40 treatment rooms, about 20,000 square feet. Art collection and classes. The art collection is in excess of $50 million collection that's actively curated and added to. We have swimming. We just ended up, we'll see in new construction, ended up opening at the Peak, which is a year-round pool. We hadn't seen in southwestern Pennsylvania. Quite frankly, didn't know how it would work, but it's been a huge success. We have gaming, as we mentioned, which is a huge amenity for our guests. Our guests are looking for something to do in nightlife, and it adds a piece that traditionally at the resort we haven't seen. We also have the Wildlife Academy, winter activities, and so on and so forth. In fact, I could probably spend most of the morning talking to you and describing in detail the amenities and activities, but I'd invite the board, if you're interested, we'd be happy to give you a tour and maybe do that at a later time. One of the things that Gary and I started meeting as soon as I started at the resort, we knew that there was concern with regards to unattended children in casinos. And one of the things that we wanted to talk about at Nemacolin was the amenities and activities that we'd have available for children that are both curated and as well as some activities that we look after the children for. So the Kids Club operates 7 days a week for 5 to 12-year-olds. We do have a morning session, an afternoon session, all-day session, and then an adults' night out section. So if they'd like to go out for a nice dinner, if they'd like to go to the casino or see some entertainment later, we've got that available for them. Those become educational as well as a forum where we're watching the children. Kids Club Arcade is something that we've added and continue to grow. In fact, we're adding a new virtual experience for the arcade that will be opening within the next couple of weeks. A carousel is new, and the mini golf has been there. The carousel is new. We ended up adding a winter tubing hill, which we converted to summer tubing, and we run that. It's a lit hill, so we can run that during the evening as well. And it's been huge, a great amenity, something that's fun for the children and adults. It gets quite competitive with some adults. We've added cosmic bowling, which is new since we've done it, as well as axe throwing. So we do both of those activities inside. Axe throwing not as much for the children, but you can take down zombies with it. And most of these other activities, amenities we've had there have been in the past. Resort renovations. We are in the process right now of a multi-year, and in fact every year we are investing back into the property. In the last 2 years, we've added the Peak, as I mentioned before. It's a year-round facility that not only has two pools, if you can see in the lower right-hand corner of the presentation, we do have a second pool that's a little bit lower that's a lazy river, specifically looking at families on that side. And then at amenities activities, we put in a stage, so we're running live music on there during the weekends and at night with some DJs and some live bands. The Nemacolin Golf Academy. This is, as I mentioned before, we're doing a lot with education, and this was a project we took on last year and opened it up for the summer. And if you remember, or if you've seen the Golf Academy before, we expanded it. We added 4 TrackMan 360 programs, including pressure plates to help look at swings. But I think the most exciting thing about the Nemacolin Golf Academy is that we've started, and it's been very successful, a huge children's program, understanding that the future of golf, which we saw prior to the pandemic, either flat or slightly declining, that we need to bring new golfers in at a young age. And so, for instance, on the TrackMan 360s, it's not only swinging and taking a look at the swing, but you can play games. You can hit off of one rooftop to another virtually. You can do all these neat things, which has really started to engage people that weren't necessarily excited about golf, but had played video games in the past. Secondly, this is the Blue Room. We're talking about resort renovations. The Blue Room used to be our Lafayette Hospitality Suite. And we bring it on this because we're in the process of kicking off a multi-phase massive renovation at the resort. Our first phase in that upcoming renovation, this shows you a little bit of where we're going, more of a luxury and modern feel into the resort. But we are looking at bringing massive room renovations in the lodge and annex facilities starting in January of this year and concluding in August of next year. including a rework of the Rockwell's restaurant, including increasing in public area spaces, and making it a true luxury resort, with our hopes that we'll bring the rest of the facilities, the entire resort, up to a 5-diamond, 5-star facility. And last but not least, I think last time we talked about the renovations in the golf course. We continue to put into that, which helps us as a reputation. We have a national reputation as being a golf destination, having hosted the 84 Lumber Classic from 2003 to 2006. We spent some time and effort last year in renovating the Mystic Rock bunkers and actually making the course playable for 2 different levels. For those that are more advanced in using the back tees, making some of these bunkers come into play a little bit more, so it becomes challenging. But at the same time, taking out some of the bunkers that were for an average golfer such as myself, or below average golfer, I should say, makes it a little bit more enjoyable and a lot more playable. Last of the renovations we have, again, is sort of the kicking off of these multi-phase project that we're doing right now, is the new roof on the chateau. Part of this renovation, which we'll complete early next year, is actually including solar units onto the hotel. So going to a more sustainable footprint in and around, and we're excited about offsetting some of our carbon footprint here in the near future. The tourism impact. The pandemic was the best of times. It was the worst of times for hospitality. Nemacolin was spared no difference. In 2020, we closed down the facility in March. We started to reopen late May. We didn't really get reopened until the following year, fully reopened in the facility, according to some restrictions that we had from both the government and some advice we had from the CDC. During that time frame, we saw, I think the resort term or the travel term is this resort envy or this travel envy that's going on there, and we saw a massive uptick in our demographics. I guess it was July of 2020, we got a call from The Bachelor, the program, the national program, and they were looking for a site where they could create a bubble. They wanted us to shut down the resort. We knew that coming out of the summer, which we saw a downtick in COVID, but prior to any vaccinations, we were a little bit worried about what that fall would bring. So we agreed to have about 200 people coming in from the United States, mostly from California, and they lived at the resort for about 2 months. During that resort time, the entire resort turned into a studio. We had wires running down hallways, and we had candid shots and microphones everywhere. And during that time frame, it was a real boon for the resort. They used all of the amenities and activities and really showcased what the resort could look like. And we saw an immediate effect, immediate uptick from post-COVID. So the program started to air in January of 2021. And January, February, March, April, May, we saw an unprecedented top-line revenue year at Nemacolin in 2021, preceded only by another record that we'll beat. In fact, I think as of this morning, we've matched what our revenues were last year, or very close to it. We expect that will continue. Great showing for the resort, but it opened us to a much different demographic in a much larger area, where Nemacolin used to be the king of, or the queen of, the 3-hour drive radius, 3.5-hour drive radius. We've really increased that quite significantly. I've seen in the 10 years that I've been associated with the resort, this last summer I saw more license plates from Manhattan, or from New York, being mostly Manhattan and Long Island even, all the way to Chicago. So we were seeing Illinois license plates, which we had seen periodically, but those have become more of a standard at the resort. We've seen our average household income increase by close to $100,000, from about $258,000 to $350,000 in the last 2 years. We've saw a 30% increase in travel post-pandemic, so we've started to see that in transient travel, less group-related. Increase in driving range from 3.5 hours to 6.5 hours, as I mentioned before. And then we've seen about $1,000 increase in the median value of the guest staying incremental spend. So when a guest used to stay per room night, we'd see somewhere in the neighborhood of $1,400 to $1,600 per night. We've seen that now increase to about $2,400 per night in spend when they come here. So they're coming from farther and they're spending more at the resort, which is great. The last piece I'd like to talk about is our community involvement. We understand at Nemacolin that we're part of the community. A lot of our associates live within a 10 to 15 minute drive of the community, and we like to give back. We're actively involved in various community organizations and donations, and year to date we've contributed approximately $250,000. We expect to double that. We typically do a big drive for our light up nights and our unwrap nights up at the resort to celebrate the holiday season. And in the last, since 2017, we've donated about $2.25 million to local charities, local and regional charities, about 90% of which are of and about Fayette County. I'd like to take a couple of minutes to just highlight some of those. I think the first is Fayette County EMS. Annually, at least in the last 2 years, and we'll do it again this year, we contribute about $100,000 in order to have an ambulance be able to run up on the mountain itself. So we subsidize that to make it available for not only the resort, the casino, but also for all of our associates, a majority of which live in that drive radius. Secondly, we've been working the last couple of years with the fire department. We've donated over $600,000 to the fire department to upgrade their equipment, which was getting old. We'll continue to do that again this year. We have a great partnership with the Westmoreland County Community College, their educational foundation. Big Brothers and Big Sisters of the Laurel region. That's one of our pet projects, and quite a few of our associates are getting into that. That's a relatively recent partnership for us, and we're excited about what we can do for that. Project Bundle Up, we've been working with them for over 25 years. Last year we gave over $100,000 to Project Bundle Up to help people in need of coats for the winter years. And another one I'd like to talk about is the Pittsburgh Community Food Bank. Pittsburgh Community Food Bank, we've between 84 and Nemacolin, we've given quite a bit of money, but this is also another one of our projects. So every month we send a group down to the Pittsburgh Food Bank, not only to contribute monies, but also to help pack boxes, which directly helps Fayette County. It's one of the counties that's served by it. So we're very proud of the community involvement. And with this, I'd like to hand over the microphone to Gary Hendricks, the outgoing general manager at Lady Luck.
Thank you, Trey. I'm Gary Hendricks, GaryHendricks. I want to go back just a second to the community involvement slide. Churchill Downs is also a big believer in community involvement, and some of this is, most of what's represented here is the resort. The casino does also take part in some of this, the food bank, the Fayette County Fair. United Way Day of Caring is something specifically, and it's actually now the week of caring. They expanded that with COVID, where a lot of what we do is work hours. We have people in the volunteer fire department. We do things with this United Way, and one of the cash things that we do is the slot voucher donations, where patrons can drop off their slot ticket in, ticket outs for 25 cents or something they don't want to cash out. They drop it in boxes in the casino, and those get donated to various funds, including the volunteer fire department. We also do the School for the Blind. We do the Fayette County Food Bank, and Fayette Friends of Animals is a favorite one that we do as well. And this averages about $2,000 per quarter that we end up gathering to give to them. But Lady Luck Casino, we opened in July of 2013, as you're aware. I came in 2016. I was at the property up until about a month ago, now at Presque Isle. It was approximately a $60 million investment from Isla Capri. That was adding the admin facility, the offices to the side of the building, as well as the equipment, the slot machines and all that went in. 600 slot machines, 26 table games. Currently, post-COVID, we're operating one restaurant, the Lone Wolf. We serve a bar and restaurant out of there. And currently, 166 employees. Fluctuates a little bit every other day. We lose people, get people, that sort of thing. But that was where we were at the beginning of the month. Just to run you through some of the statistical numbers or financial numbers, the casino local impact, which is the local share assessment, that has benefited this local market, both Fayette County and Wharton Township. It's been $9.4 million since the inception of the casino. Since the last time we presented, that's been $5.8 million. We presented in September of 2016 for the renewal of the license then. the annual tax and license revenues total $150 million generated for the state. About $85 million since 2016, the last time we presented. That includes the recent Category 3 ability to remove the entry fee, the $10 access plan that was in place. $1 million for that was paid when Churchill came in 2019. Non-gaming tax, we've got about $6 million generated since the property opened, 3.2 in the last 6 years. Gaming taxes, a little bit from the first page that we talked about, it's $130 million, a little over that, over the course of the life of the casino, $84 million since the last presentation. Local purchasing, and this is purchasing that's within the state of Pennsylvania, is the way this is looked at, a little over $63 million. And much of that you can see was in the first few years with the construction of the property and building that up. The last 6 years have been about $5 million in the local business. Casino purchasing, minority and women owned, a little over $12 million, $6 million since the last time we presented. Something that we're always looking for opportunities in that. Total purchasing, a little over $265 million since we opened the casino for all-in purchasing items, and that's $131 million since the last presentation. Payroll benefits, this is paid directly to the employees or their benefits, about $83 million since we opened, and that's about $51 million since 2016. So that's the last of the financial numbers. With that, I want to turn this over to Mary Ann Rutherford, who is the incoming general manager. She's been in position for about a month now. Mary Ann.
Thank you. Mary Ann Rutherford, MERRYANN, Morning. On to employee residency. As Gary mentioned, we have 166 employees. Out of the 166, 157 are PA residents. 9 are from Maryland and West Virginia. We have 140 full-time employees and 24 part-time employees. 44 open positions currently. Eligibility for full-time is working 30 hours or more per week, and the benefits include PTO, 401k, employee stock purchase plan, tuition reimbursement, medical, pharmacy, vision, dental, disability, life insurance, accident, and critical illness. And for part-time employees, PTO, 401k, and the employee stock option plan. For tuition reimbursement, once you've been full-time for 1 year, you're eligible for $4,000 towards undergrad classes and $5,000 for graduate classes. 401k is a blended 4% depending upon your contribution. Our employee demographics, we have 102 males working at Lady Luck Nemacolin and 64 females. 15% of our staff is the executive and managerial team. 75% of the executive team is female. 50% of the managerial team is female. Of our internal promotions, 50% of our executives have been promoted internally, and 75% of our managerial team have been promoted internally. For our diversity demographics, 84% of our staff is Caucasian versus the 91% of Fayette County. 16% are non-Caucasian versus the 9% of Fayette County. On to compliance. Unattended minors. We receive training in new hire orientation and also during responsible gaming annual training, and that's for all employees. We have parking lot signage targeting the unattended minors. We've added 12 signs throughout the parking lot area, and you must walk by at least 2 signs to get into the casino from either of our parking areas. We have casino floor announcements every hour warning patrons not to leave minors unattended. We have parking lot patrols, implemented security patrol every 15 minutes, or excuse me, every hour for 15 minutes during our opening hours, and any employee can perform that. Surveillance will scan the parking lot during closed hours. We've upgraded the parking lots with surveillance. New cables run to the parking lot to allow a higher data transmission, and 2 high-definition infrared cameras were moved to cover the main parking lot area. Our enhancements to compliance. We have targeted departmental training, including to but not limited to internal controls, self-exclusion procedures, Title 31, acceptable forms of ID and proper use of paradox for security and surveillance, counterfeit bill training for all gaming employees, emergency evacuation and active shooter training for all employees, and unattended minor procedures. We have responsible gaming training conducted at orientation, as well as the annual refresher, and that includes alcohol awareness training, and that's for all employees. Compulsive and problem gaming collateral are available at 2 locations, at the cage and at the front door. 21 additional signs are posted throughout the property pertaining to underage gaming, intoxication, the firearms policy, COVID policies, etc. We spend approximately $15,000 annually on employee training. That includes printed signage and collateral, reinforcement training, sponsorships, memberships, and RAMPS training. 47.5% of our employees are RAMPS trained. That includes bartenders, barbacks, food and beverage manager, food and beverage supervisors, and we extended that to hosts, slot attendants, operation managers, and directors. And that concludes my slide.
Okay, with that conclusion, what we've invited a few people to speak on behalf of the casino. We'd like to invite the first person, Vince Facettis, to come up and give some input on the casino as well.
Good morning. My name is Vince Facettis. I am a Fayette County Commissioner. On behalf of the Fayette County Board of Commissioners, I would like to thank you for this opportunity to present testimony regarding Lady Luck's application for license renewal. A healthy economy is rooted in many aspects of our community life. The concept of economic development includes the idea of economic growth, where is an idea in the size of the economy. Measures used to gauge economic growth include investment, output, consumption, and income. But economic development also includes the notion of changing the quality and nature of the economy, such as by changing investment choices or technology. The efforts of gaming can do just that, adding new jobs and entertainment sources. Gaming has brought economic change to our area, as any other industry would. It is important for Fayette County to support this endeavor because it continues to be an impact to development. The resort licenses also mean more tourism dollars. Tourism is vitally important to Fayette County. It represents our future and currently is one of the largest industries, consistently ranking first or second. The additional entertainment options afforded through the gaming operations have helped to increase and boost our visitation. Our goal through the institution of the hotel occupancy tax or bed tax in Fayette County, like those of neighboring counties, could certainly help to provide essential funding necessary to support our tourism-related businesses throughout the rest of the county. I would urge some support for this tourism infrastructure goals as well. Nemacolin Woodlands and Lady Luck are good neighbors and have proven to the county that they have the best interest of our area in mind as they create and operate their businesses. Here in Fayette County, we view gaming as one piece of a much larger and ever-expanding economy, an investment in infrastructure that has helped Fayette County pursue a brighter future. That brighter future comes in the way of the local share account, LSA program. Fayette County's local share account, some notes from that. It's created under the Pennsylvania Racehorse Development and Gaming Act 2004. It changed in 2014, 2015, created the Fayette County program with gaming proceeds generated by Lady Luck, Churchill Downs, and Nemacolin Resort. Community and economic development projects with the emphasis on projects that will have significant impact. Fayette County designated the Redevelopment Authority of Fayette County as the administrator of the program, working in close relationship with the Fayette County Commissioners. Emphasis is also placed on leveraging other private and public sources, including the hotel tax funding, Laurel Highlands from the Laurel Highlands Visitors Bureau, Fayette County Demolition Fund, Fayette County CDBG program, and other state programs and sources. So we leverage these LSA funds to make these projects go even further. Final approval of these activities by the Fayette County Commissioners and review from the DCED, we end up providing these grants to many needed projects in the county. Project implementation is taken on by the Redevelopment Authority, and it's coordinated with the compliance of state rules and regulations. These types of projects, some are economic development projects, some are community improvement projects, projects of public interest as well. To date, the program, the demand for the program with the total applications we received is $21.5 million with 369 projects over the last 8 years. That's been the demand. Obviously, that's 4 times the amount of funding that was available, but we were able to really make a significant impact. The funds available since 2015 have totaled $5.5 million, $5.5 million, and the total projects that we funded are 145 in the county. And that's all over the county. We look at geographics as much as possible. And of that $5.5 million that we've invested, that's leveraged over $10 million in other private projects and public resources for those 145 projects. The bottom line is that while we have a representative portion of our membership withholding support for gaming due to what might be described as social concerns, the overwhelming majority of our membership supports Lady Luck in their quest to renew their license. And again, thank you for allowing me to provide this perspective and this testimony on behalf of the Fayette County Board of Commissioners. And I respectively submit this October 26, 2022. Thank you. And I have a written copy that I will provide to you all.
Thank you, Vince.
Some of the projects that we were able to help were just a few is the Phillips Park Playground upgrade, the Connellsville Township Municipal Garage upgrade, the South Union Township Sheepskin Trail improvements, and Fairchance Borough Fire Hydrant Replacement Project, just to name a few. So it's really helping us, and we want that effort to continue. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Vince. With that, we did have a last-minute change. Donna Gamble was going to speak to us today, but we now have Ann Nemacolin, who's the Executive Director of Go Laurel Highlands. I'd like to invite Ann up to speak for a moment.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Ann, A-N-N, Nemacolin, N-E-M-A-N-I-C, and I'm the Executive Director of Go Laurel Highlands. I'd like to begin by just stating I think that Lady Luck Casino is appropriately named. How lucky the casino is to be in the footprint of the Laurel Highlands. The Laurel Highlands, as you know, is located right here in southwestern Pennsylvania. The region is one of 3 legacy brands, and that has been named by the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania for regional tourism. We're comprised of Westmoreland, Somerset, and Fayette County. Go Laurel Highlands is extremely proud to have Nemacolin and Lady Luck Casino as part of the tourism assets that we're able to offer to visitors that come here to our region on an annual basis. My purpose here this morning is to really give you a big scope of what travel and tourism means right here in Fayette County, but also to the Laurel Highlands region. $1.9 billion, and that's with a B, is invested by visitors that come here on an annual basis to the Laurel Highlands. So let's take that for a moment and bring it right down to the county level. As Commissioner Vasidi shared with you, it is significant. $738 million on an annual basis is spent by visitors that come here to Fayette County, and that continues to grow on an annual basis. Continues to grow because we improve upon those tourism assets. You've heard about the improvements at Nemacolin. Certainly the tourism assets and the amenities that we have are very broad here in Fayette County and the Laurel Highlands, so there's really something for everyone. I'd also like to share that 11.8% of employees really have jobs in the travel and tourism industry. That's pretty significant when you think about it. And I often like to share that the first jobs that many folks have are really rooted in travel and tourism. So we're giving them a start into our industry, and we certainly hope that that continues for years to come. I'd also like to share a little bit about how lodging impacts our region. We're here to talk about the casino, and that certainly is what I would consider an additional amenity. Something for someone else to enjoy. It extends their stay and adds to their enjoyment while they're here. But when they stay here, those dollars are reinvested. We have tourism grants here in Fayette County that are significant. They started back in 2009. We have been able to award 513 grants back into the tourism community, and that equates to $5.7 million. This year, in the tourism cycle, we'll probably add close to another $1 million back into tourism. That's also not just nonprofits, but for-profits, which is practically unheard of. How do you invest those dollars back to help everyone? Those are for capital grants, those are marketing grants, and those are also operational grants. So that funding is tremendous and it is significant. We have a 2% of the lodging tax that's really set aside for very specific investment dollars here in Fayette County. And as the Commissioner talked about the Sheepskin Trail, certainly we've been able to give dollars towards that. We've been able to help the EMS and first responders. We have a tremendous outdoor recreational footprint here. Being able to get to those folks is important. ATVs are necessary for first responders. So from those lodging tax dollars, we've been able to reach visitors who might have taken a little bit of a misstep on a trail or on a bicycle and be able to help them significantly. Over $2 million has been invested in that capacity. And all of those funds really come from lodging tax dollars. The casino, again, is an amenity. Helps add to the enjoyment of a visitor. Is it for everyone? No. But it certainly gives us as a marketing organization an opportunity to tell people about all of the things that they're here to enjoy. I think we can all attest to The trials and tribulations of a pandemic, not anything that any of us could have anticipated. It was a learning curve for each and every one of us, and certainly those of us in the tourism industry. I'm very proud to say that we had what folks were looking for. We had those outdoor recreational assets that people were seeking. We had a lot of first-time people that came here to Fayette County and to the Laurel Highlands, but best of all, they've come back. We were able to see an uptick as quickly as March of the year of the pandemic, and those numbers have continued to increase, and just this past month we have exceeded 2019 figures, and those were the best figures that we had on record for the lodging community. So we're doing a lot of things, and we're doing a lot of things right here in Fayette County. Our 2023 budget for Go Laurel Highlands will be well over $2 million to bring visitors here to Fayette County and the Laurel Highlands. Talking about the website analytics, and I can mirror what Trey shared with you. Certainly we're bringing folks from Washington, D.C. and Baltimore, but we too, on our website analytics, see New York City. A little surprising to us, but we know that they're coming here for not only the outdoor recreation, but places like Nemacolin. We'll be expanding our marketing reach into the Boston market, and we are entering a wonderful relationship with the Pittsburgh International Airport, certainly to bring in international travelers from the UK, from Ireland and Scotland, coming on British Airways. So that agreement we finalized yesterday, and we'll be having a footprint at the airport at Pittsburgh starting as early as December, and then that will expand into their new terminal when it opens in 2025. So again, I think we're here really to talk about an economic impact of travel and tourism, and it is really significant, not only from employment, but for dollars that are spent and put to very, very good use here at here in Fayette County. Nemacolin, Lady Luck Casino, they are significant drivers, not only here to Fayette County, but certainly to Laurel Highlands. We're very proud not only to have one, but two within our footprint. Live Casino in Westmoreland County is a secondary casino here. So we are able to have a uniqueness, one in a more city or town environment, and one that just simply is absolutely spectacular. Sorry for the weather that you didn't get to see the glorious fall foliage that we have, but just being able to have a beautiful casino on property at Nemacolin here in the Laurel Highlands for a four-season opportunity is truly, truly significant. So I certainly appreciate your consideration for the renewal. 5 years goes by very quickly. We'll probably be back here, luckily, in another 5 years for your sincere consideration. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Ann. And we've also asked a few employees of the casino to come and speak briefly about their experience at the casino and the impact on them. And we'd like to invite George Henderson, please, to come up and speak.
Hello. George Henderson, Georgehenderson. A little about me. I'm a retired Air Force, retired police officer. I worked in the securities industry in Washington, D.C. for a number of years, and when I was looking to get closer to home, I applied for a job here at the casino. I was lucky enough that Churchill Downs hired me, and I took over as security and facilities manager. As security and facilities managers, I have it's a unique combination. I not only deal with the people, the policies, rules and regulations, I also deal with keeping the facility running. All of the behind the scenes aspects that really have been the biggest challenge for me is learning the facilities part of the job. I was really amazed at the amount of stuff it takes to run a casino. It's an enormous amount of electronics, wiring. I'm learning a tremendous amount. On the security side, I've definitely learned the importance of, it's a different type of security, of keeping track of the logs. You know, when you're dealing with money, you got to keep track of signatures, dates, times. Everything has to be in order, no blanks anywhere in your record. So it's really been a rewarding experience working here. I've learned a lot. as far as the casino has been great for a couple of things: personal growth and professional growth. I feel that it offers all employees a chance to grow personally and professionally. I have a lot of locals that work for me here at the casino, and we work hand in hand. We help with personal problems. We help with work problems. You know, I do whatever we need to do to take care of all our employees. I have approximately 40 people in my 2 divisions, and we keep the casino running smoothly. That's all.
Thank you, George. And then finally, we'd like to ask Christina White, our casino shift manager, to come up and speak as well.
I'm sorry, can you just tell me how long George has been in that position?
He just celebrated his 2nd anniversary.
Thank you.
Morning, my name is Christina White, CHRISTINAWHITE. I was born and raised in Fayette County. I've lived here for 56 years and I've raised 3 kids here. I have worked as a programmer, a postmaster, and a technology instructor in our local schools. About 13 years ago, I decided to get into the casino business. I started out as a craps dealer at the Meadows. I was anticipating the opening of Lady Luck and to work closer to home. Then in May of 2013, I helped to open Lady Luck. I started out as an experienced dealer, dual rate supervisor, and in the past 9 years, I've been promoted 4 times, and I now hold the position of casino manager. Along the way at Lady Luck, I have learned and grown, and then passed along what I've learned to others through schools, and I'm very grateful every day. We are like a big family at the casino. Not only employees, but also our patrons have become like family. I love what I do, and overall, it's just a great atmosphere to be a part of. Thank you.
Thank you, Christine. That concludes the Lady Luck side of the presentation.
Director Lloyd, would now be the time to offer the exhibits as we come to the conclusion of our presentation?
Yes.
So I believe there'll be 2 exhibits. The first that we'd like to enter into the record of this proceeding. The first exhibit would be the PowerPoint presentation, which was referenced during the course of today's proceeding, which we would mark as Woodlands Fayette Exhibit 1. And the second, I guess starting with that one, is I would respectfully move for that Woodlands Fayette Exhibit 1 to be entered into the record.
Any objection?
No objection.
So moved.
Director Lloyd, the second exhibit is the written statement of Fayette County Commissioner Vincent Facides, which is dated October 26, 2022, which would be marked as Woodlands Fayette Exhibit 2.
Any objection?
No objection. We would just ask that a copy of that be submitted to us after the hearing.
Okay. So moved.
Thank you. May I approach the stenographer?
Sure.
Okay.
Or
I'll use
after.
it later, yeah. So that concludes our case in chief, and I understand there will be cross-examination questions from Chief
Yes.
Counsel and the board as well. Thank you.
So I'll turn to our Office of Enforcement Counsel. Do you have questions for the witnesses?
Yes. Good morning. Kelsey Scrotto, SCI-RRO-TTO, Assistant Enforcement Counsel with the Office of Enforcement Counsel. I want to draw your attention to slide 6 of the presentation. Slide 6 mentions Kids Club and babysitting services as some of the kid-friendly amenities. Are the babysitting services and Kids Club available for casino patrons to utilize for their children?
Yes, our children's program offers supervised activity and entertainment, as I mentioned before, for ages 5 to 12. We have it available to patron of the casino if they're an overnight guest of the resort. Same thing with babysitting.
Okay, now I want to draw your attention to slide 12. For tourism impact, does this pertain to the resort as a whole? Does it include the casino?
This is specifically for the resort.
Okay. And slide 13. The slide indicates that there were over 250,000 in donations to date. What year does this go back to?
This is for year-to-date in 2022. As I mentioned, since 2017, we've donated about $2.25 million.
Okay. Slide 15. Slide 15 shows information about the casino local impact and local share impact since it was opened. Is local considered Fayette County and Warren Township?
Yes.
All right, slide 19. For this side for local, is that also Fayette County, Warren Township, or is that Pennsylvania as a whole?
That's Pennsylvania as a whole.
Thank you. Now slide 22. Regarding benefits, I believe it was mentioned that 401k was a blended, that 4% was mentioned. Is that 4% a 4% match?
Actually, it's 100% match at 3%, and then it lowers at 4 to 5%.
Okay. Slide 25. How do your demographics for executive and managerial staff compare to these demographics that are in slide 25?
Currently, the executive team is all Caucasian, and on the managerial side, 10% is non-Caucasian.
And slide 27. For the unattended minor training, which casino departments receive that training?
All casino departments.
There's enhanced training for security and surveillance, but everybody is exposed to the process of what we do with an unattended minor.
Okay. And which casino departments receive responsible gaming training?
All employees
All
receive
employees.
responsible gaming.
Is there any enhanced training for any of the departments on that one?
On the responsible gaming, it's done by Josh Urkel, and everybody receives the same training.
Okay.
There's a small piece of that that's responsible alcohol. There is the expanded training on that for actual employees that serve alcohol. 47% go through ramps training for that.
For the 47%, for the 47%, is that for the casino employees as a whole?
Yes.
And are all employees are required to be ramp certified?
Yes.
All that serve alcohol, yes.
Thank you. I have no further questions.
Mr. Hayes, any follow-up questions based on this?
No, Director Lloyd.
Okay, then I'll turn to our board members to see if we have any questions. Who wants to start? Start with Commissioner Regan.
Good morning. Thanks for having us here. Just a couple quick questions. Yeah. Can you hear me okay? Do you have any idea what percentage of your visitors to Nemacolin also visit the casino?
It's one of the things that we've talked about in the past, and it's difficult for us to come to an exact number because our systems aren't tied together, so I can't tell if a patron that came in is a hotel patron or not. But in the past, we've always associated an unrated play number of the people that don't have cards as a mirror of what our rated play is. But I think here in Fayette County, what we're seeing is about a 28% unrated number, and I think that really reflects people coming from the resort because their one-time guests don't have a need to get a player's card for the marketing. So we think a large portion of that 28%. So just as an estimate, around 20%.
Okay. And is there how close are the two facilities? Is it right? Is Lady Luck directly on the Nemacolin grounds?
It's on the grounds. You can actually see Falling Rock Hotel from our property. You can see the chateau from our property, but I want to say it's maybe 3/4 of a mile distance from the chateau to the casino.
And you have a shuttle service?
Mm-hmm.
And does that operate? What are the hours of the casino?
The casino operates, opens at 9 a.m., closes at 2 a.m., and that shuttle service runs continually throughout that time.
Okay, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
You had mentioned that there's one restaurant in operation post-pandemic. Mm-hmm. How many restaurants were on?
There's two in the facilities. There was a casual dining restaurant called Otis and Henry's. That's currently being utilized as meeting space and employee break room area. We found that the volume levels since COVID, and specifically with Westmoreland opening in the market, have kept it where we can serve a bar menu out of the bar. We have burgers, Reuben sandwich, salads, those kind of things that we're serving out of the bar areas. Kind of place your order, counter service, and then pick it up when it comes out of the kitchen.
Okay. And you mentioned 166 present employees, and did you say you have 44 positions to fill?
Currently, yes.
And finally, what is Quick Jump? It was amenity named on Nemacolin's site.
So the Quick Jump is actually part of our climbing wall, and it's an assisted belay. So you can go up to the top, climb to the top, and then hop off, and it actually catches you as it goes to the last third of it. So you get a little bit of a free fall, and then it catches you and lets you gently to the ground.
Sounds terrifying.
It truly is.
Thank you.
Commissioner Dermody, you have any
Just one
questions?
question. Have you noticed a drop in the business in the casino since Live Pittsburgh, Greensburg has opened?
Yes. Yeah, the live area, Westmoreland, actually accounted for about 40% of our revenue coming from that market. So it's absolutely had an impact.
Any plans to try and fix that or market it a different way?
Continually market into that and try to get some of that back. We've plateaued within the last probably 6 months and stopped the decline and kind of kept a steady state. But that's part of why we're at where we are with the restaurants, where we are with the employee size. Yeah.
All right, okay, thank you.
Chair.
And Commissioner Regan, you actually addressed most of my questions, but Quick Jump was number one. We talked about, you said about 20% of the guests at the resort may...
It's 20% of the guests at the casino come from the resort.
Okay, and how do they know about the casino at the resort? Is there signage, or what do you do to help promote the casino?
Yeah, so when Gary and I first started together, we started looking at co-branding type of issues such as email blasts. We do a lot of digital marketing within the resort itself, including our television screens when you check into the area. We've done away with a lot of physical signage and the rebranding from the property itself. But we do extensive training from our reservations department to concierge departments to the butlers to food and beverage to mention those as alternatives for alternative activities. So we've done a lot of co-branding based on those three things.
Yeah, and while you've done away with the rat cards, you do have a map that you give people. I checked in yesterday for the first time since I've been here. I stayed at the resort and got a map of the resort, and the casino is represented on that map as well.
Okay. And 44 open positions, that's quite significant based on 166 present positions. How is that impacting the operations of the casino, if at all?
It's had a pretty major impact on us. Earlier this year, we actually had a situation where we ran very short in security to the point where we couldn't maintain that minimum staffing requirement that we had to do. We ended up taking any of the management team that had a G2 license or above could fill in for security, and we had Marianne, myself, several other people filling in as security officers. We got to the point where that's just not sustainable. We actually had to close on Monday and Tuesday, and today we remain closed Monday and Tuesday because of that staffing situation. We're in a much better place with security, but now we have issues in cage, some of the food and beverage, the kitchen, and EVS. Those are positions that we struggle to get up here on the mountain.
And so what are you actually doing? What efforts are you making to attract people to those positions?
We post the positions through Indeed, as most people do. We also go to job fairs, local job fairs. We also do a mobile job fair where we'll take our shuttle bus that's branded Lady Luck. You may have seen the blue shuttle bus with the horseshoes on it. We drive that into town and park. We've done it at the Chamber of Commerce. The most recent one we did was at the Big Lots store down in Uniontown. Park in front of that or in their parking lot and break out balloons and tents and try to get people to stop by. We also have an internal job fair at the property. Every week we have an open session for people to come in and put in applications, and then we post the applications on our own website as well. And the resort has also put some of our job postings on their website.
Does the chamber actually get a posting of your job openings?
Yes.
And do they advertise them as well?
Yes. Okay. And Career Link here in town as well.
Well, that's great. So, obviously, I'm a woman and a person of color, so I'm always concerned about the diversity issues. Your casino purchasing for minority and women the numbers seem a bit low. How do you go about trying to advertise whatever is available as far as casino purchasing to try to attract more women and minority businesses?
We take the opportunity whenever we have a new vendor coming in to verify, to find out if they are a person of color or a women-owned business. But it's just as we go through that process, the vendor packets that we get back from them, we try to give preference to those groups. But it's not something that we're actually going out and saying, hey, come spend money with us. It depends on what our needs are at the time.
Do you at all try to partner some of the minority and majority businesses together? Do you try to promote that at all?
Yes. Mm-hmm. We make those attempts, yes.
Okay. That's good. And I believe Office of Enforcement Counsel talked about the management and executive composition of diversity, and you said the executive team was all Caucasian, but how many of those, or what percentage are women?
75% are women.
So 75% of the Caucasians are women.
Correct.
So, see, that's a number that you should have said. It's good. That's And one last question on the donations. I believe you said that you intend to double the $250,000 this year.
Yes, ma'am. We have 4 weekends during the year between Thanksgiving and Christmas, which we call Unwrap and Light Up Nights. Each of those weekends, we give away sizable donations. And so we do expect to more than double that between Thanksgiving, the Friday after Thanksgiving, and Christmas Day for local and community.
Okay. Thank you.
Mr. Hayes, any follow-up questions based on those?
No, I do not.
Okay. We will turn to our Office of Enforcement Counsel for their presentation.
Thank you. The Office of Enforcement Counsel, LLN, PA, LLC, and Lady Luck Casino have entered into the following stipulations concerning Lady Luck Casino's application for renewal of its license, which has been provided to you as Exhibits 1 through 8. The Pennsylvania State Police have provided OEC with the Uniform Crime Reporting System reports and National Incident-Based Reporting System reports for the period of December 1st, 2016 through August 31st, 2022, addressing incidents at Lady Luck Casino. These reports are OEC Exhibit 1. On September 7th, 2022, the Bureau of Liquor Control Enforcement issued a letter to OEC stating that there's been 1 citation and adjudication against Lady Luck since its Category 3 slot machine was last renewed. The letter is OEC Exhibit 2. On September 14th, 2022, the Board's Office of Compulsive and Problem Gambling issued a memorandum to OEC attesting that Lady Luck Casino is in compliance with its compulsive and problem gambling plan and is meeting the requirements under the Gaming Act and the Board's regulations as they pertain to their approved plan. The memorandum is OEC Exhibit 3. On September 14th, 2022, the Pennsylvania Department of Revenue issued 3 letters to OEC attesting that Woodlands Fayette LLC, LLN PA LLC, and Nemacolin Woodlands Inc. are current and in good standing with the Pennsylvania Department of Revenue. The letters are marked as OEC Exhibits 4A, 4B, and 4C, respectively. OEC Exhibits 5, 6, 7, and 8 are consent agreements, compliance conference memorandums, warning letters, and demand letters, respectively, which are accessible through an access link provided to the parties. OEC and Lady Luck have entered into 5 board-approved consent agreements since the time of Lady Luck's last renewal. Copies of the consent agreement are OEC Exhibit 5. Lady Luck has fully complied with its obligations under these consent agreements by paying $64,500 in civil penalties, among various other remedies, including employee training. OEC has conducted 2 compliance conferences with Lady Luck since the time of last renewal. In each instance, Lady Luck took corrective measures to remedy the concerns of OEC with respect to each compliance conference. The compliance conference memorandums are OEC Exhibit 6 and are accessible through an access link. OEC would ask that OEC Exhibit 6 be kept confidential. OEC has issued Lady Luck 29 warning letters since the time of its last renewal for various violations of the Act and the regulations promulgated thereunder. Lady Luck has appropriately responded to each warning letter issued by OEC. Copies of the letters and Lady Luck's responses are OEC Exhibit 7 and are accessible through an access link. OEC would ask that OEC Exhibit 7 be kept confidential. OEC has issued Lady Luck 2 demand letters since the time of its last renewal. Lady Luck has appropriately responded to each demand letter as issued by OEC. Copies of the letters and Lady Luck's responses are OEC Exhibit 8 and are accessible through an access link. OEC would ask that OEC Exhibit 8 be kept confidential. In addition, OEC Exhibit 9 is a stipulations agreement executed by the parties on October 21st, 2022. OEC requests that OEC Exhibits 1 through 9 be admitted into the record, with the additional request that OEC Exhibits 6, 7, and 8 be kept confidential.
Any objections?
No objection.
Okay, we will move those into the record with 6 through 8 being kept confidential.
Thank you. And OEC intends to offer the testimony of 3 witnesses who are with the Board's Bureau of Casino Compliance, the Pennsylvania State Police, and the Board's Bureau of Investigations and Enforcement. With your permission, Director Lloyd, I'll call OEC's first witness. OEC calls Chase Crosby. Mr. Crosby, please state and spell your full name.
Chase, C-H-A-S-E, Crosby, C-R-O-S-B-Y.
Are you employed by the Pennsylvania Gaming Control Board?
Yes, I am.
What is your job title?
I'm the Pennsylvania Gaming Control Board Bureau Casino Compliance Supervisor for Lady Luck Casino.
How long have you held the position of Casino Compliance Supervisor?
I've been the supervisor for just over 2 years now.
Have you previously held any other positions within the Pennsylvania Gaming Control Board?
Yes, previously I was a casino compliance representative. That was for about 4 years. I was also with at Lady Luck.
And what are your responsibilities as the Bureau of Casino Compliance Supervisor for Lady Luck Casino?
I am responsible for the supervision and management of casino compliance representatives. They're assigned to Lady Luck, along with managing the day-to-day operations of the PGCB Lady Luck office. In addition to ensuring the casino is operating within the requirements of the regulation and the Gaming Act in order to maintain the integrity of gaming within the Commonwealth.
Can you describe the type of access the Bureau of Casino Compliance has within Lady Luck in the following departments? The surveillance room?
We have unfettered access to that. We have proxy cards, so we can walk into that room at any time. Within there, we can have them show us any live video or even show us any recorded video as well.
And the count room?
We also have full access to that. That requires a hard key that is controlled by the casino, but they can allow us access at any time.
The central control computer room?
We would have full access to that as well. That would have a hard key that's controlled by the casino, but again, we can get in at any time.
Were there any issues with the connectivity regarding the central control computer at Lady Luck during the renewal period?
No issues.
Can you describe the type of access the Bureau of Casino Compliance has with any other important departments within the casino or the resort?
Yeah, we would have full access with all the departments within the casino. We're always provided what is asked, and questions are always answered whenever we ask them of any of the departments.
Was there ever a need for emergency access to any of Lady Luck's departments during the renewal period?
There was one instance that was in June of 2022. This was Lady Luck Surveillance needed emergency remote access to grant their surveillance system operator access to the system so they could do troubleshooting and attempt to troubleshoot the problem they had at the time.
Does the Bureau of Casino Compliance interact with guests at the casino?
Yes, we do.
Does the Bureau of Casino Compliance respond to their complaints?
Yes.
How so?
Anytime there's a complaint, we fully investigate those complaints, make sure every situation's handled correctly. We also always ensure that all the rules and the regulations are being followed with any complaint.
Can you describe the relationship between the Bureau of Casino Compliance and members of the Pennsylvania State Police?
Yes, we have a very good relationship. We share common office areas, so we regularly interact on a daily basis. Anytime we need information, we share it back and forth. But yeah, interacting normally.
Can you describe the relationship between the Bureau of Casino Compliance and casino staff?
It's, I would say, a good relationship as well. We have no issue in asking for information, receive full cooperation from all the staff. I personally meet with casino management sometimes daily on a regular basis when anything's needed. They always provide with what is asked as well.
Have casino staff been cooperative in compliance reviews conducted by the Bureau of Casino Compliance?
Yes, we've been provided with all information always asked and requested, and we receive full cooperation from all the staff regarding any compliance reviews.
Did Lady Luck previously use an access pass for the casino?
Yes, they did.
Can you briefly describe the access pass?
Yes, the access pass is something that required patrons to be associated with the resort in one of two ways. One way they could either purchase access for 24 hours. Whenever they purchase that access, they'd be given a gift card for the same amount. Or if they are, a member of the resort, they would have access as well. So if they were lodging there, or if they had like a golf pass, they would be granted access as well.
Does the casino still use the access pass?
No, they do not.
Approximately when did that stop?
That was in June of 2019.
Has the Bureau of Casino Compliance noticed any significant issues following the access pass use being discontinued?
No, there's been no significant issues or any changes since that requirement stopped.
And are you familiar with the typical regulatory issues found at Pennsylvania casinos in general?
Yes, yes I am.
Are there any regulatory issues that occur, are the regulatory issues that occur at Lady Luck comparable to the regulatory issues found at other Pennsylvania casinos?
Yeah, I'd say we have the same kind of issues that are comparable to other casinos within the Commonwealth. It's just at a much smaller scale.
Thank you. I have no further questions.
Mr. Hayes?
No questions.
Any questions from the board? Okay, thank you.
OEC, next call is Corporal Swink.
Morning.
Good morning. Please, can you introduce yourself and spell your name?
My name's Corporal Nathan R. Swink, Nathan Swink.
How are you currently employed?
I'm currently employed as a corporal with the Pennsylvania State Police. I'm a unit supervisor at the Lady Luck Casino Nemacolin Woodlands office.
Please describe your career with the Pennsylvania State Police.
I've been with the Pennsylvania State Police approximately 15 years, worked as a patrol trooper for 9 years before being promoted to corporal in 2016. I was assigned to my current position since 2017.
Please describe your duties in your current position.
I'm responsible for daily shift supervision, act as a primary property room custodian. I serve various administrative functions relating to report checking and approval, and I'm also available to assist in response to incidents occurring within our area of jurisdiction.
Who is your supervisor?
My supervisor is Sergeant Thomas Maher. He's our station commander.
In preparation of today's hearing, did you also discuss this matter with Sergeant Maher?
I did.
What is the role of the Pennsylvania State Police Bureau of Gaming Enforcement at Lady Luck Casino?
We provide 24/7, 365 days a year police services to Lady Luck Casino. We ensure the casino patrons can experience a safe gaming experience. We strive to prevent criminal activity from occurring in the casino and in the adjoining areas, and we will investigate any suspected criminal activity. If crimes do occur, we investigate them. We make arrests when appropriate.
Please describe your office's area of responsibility.
Our area of responsibility is the entire Nemacolin Casino complex, including the gaming floor, shipping and receiving, food and beverage areas, employee areas, casino administrative areas, and the casino dedicated parking areas.
Which police department has the area of responsibility over Nemacolin Resort?
Pennsylvania State Police Troop B Uniontown Station has that coverage.
Please describe the working relationship that your office has with Troop B Uniontown.
We have an open line of communication with PSP Uniontown through our computer-aided dispatch systems. our portable radios, and our telephone systems. They are readily available to assist us with assets, and we are readily available to assist them in an emergency in the areas around the casino, including Nemacolin Resort, if need be.
How is the working relationship between your office and Lady Luck Casino personnel?
We maintain a professional working relationship with them. They are accustomed to seeing us on the casino property. We interact with them, and there's a mutual respect shared between us. We primarily interact with the security staff and the surveillance staff, though.
Can you please describe the working relationship that your office has with personnel from the Board's Bureau of Casino Compliance?
We also have a positive professional relationship with their staff. We work closely with them during the investigation. We can approach each other's staff without hesitation, and we share common areas of our offices and interact with each other on a daily basis.
Are you familiar with how arrest statistics are tracked by the Pennsylvania State Police?
Yes.
Can you describe how arrest statistics are recorded?
Our arrest statistics are now recorded automatically through our digital records management system. Prior to 2021, PSP participated in the Uniform Crime Reporting Program, also known as UCR. The UCR system consisted of supervisors who corrected the criminal reports, kept a running tally of offenses for an entire month, and then after the month was concluded, the supervisors who corrected the reports would consolidate the statistics into one document and input it by individual stations manually into a web-based application by the 10th of the following month. All of the individual statistics were then consolidated on a statewide level and forwarded to the FBI. The UCR system also previously only captured statistics on the most serious offense in each criminal investigation. In January of 2021, PSP transitioned to the National Incident-Based Reporting System, or as we call it, NIBRS, N-I-B-R-S. The NIBRS system works in conjunction with our Electronic Record Management System, we refer to as RMS. When cases are investigated, our troopers record their investigation on electronic reports in the RMS system. The RMS system then automatically gathers the statistical information, and it can be electronically uploaded to the NIBRS system. The NIBRS system also captures statistics on a more comprehensive basis per criminal incident, including up to 10 offenses per incident now.
Is the information contained in the reports for UCR and NIBRS subject to editing and revision?
Yes.
And under what circumstances may these be edited or revised?
If new information is obtained during an investigation, such as new suspect information or subsequent arrest information, then it could be revised to reflect that.
Corporal, I'm now going to direct your attention to what has been provided as OEC Exhibit 1. Can you identify this document?
These are statistical reports generated from the UCR and NIBRS data from 12/1/2016 through 8/31 of 2022.
And for 2016 through 2020, I see the word SRS reports at the top. What does SRS stand for?
SRS stands for Summary Reporting System.
And is the SRS report generated from the UCR?
Yes, a summary statistical report from the PA-UCR system.
Does OEC Exhibit 1 include a list of offenses and counts for each specific offense handled by the Pennsylvania State Police, as well as the adjudications?
Yes, it does.
Can one individual be arrested for more than one offense?
Yes, anyone can be arrested for multiple offenses during one incident, but for statistical purposes, that's tracked as one person arrested.
Have you reviewed the arrest statistics for Lady Luck for the time period represented here?
Yes.
First, I just want to ask a few questions about the 2016 SRS report in OEC Exhibit 1. Is the 2016 SRS report for the entire month of December?
Yes.
To your knowledge, did all of these offenses occur during the December 14th through December 31st, 2016 time period?
They all occurred in the month of December 2016. I can't determine a specific date range based on the data in the form. It's for the entire month.
Do you have any knowledge of how many offenses were charged during that period?
In December of 2016, there were 4 larceny, 2 assaults, and 1 disorderly conduct incident reported. Of those 3 larcenies were unfounded and 1 larceny was cleared. 2 assaults and 1 disorderly conduct were also cleared.
Now, you'd mentioned that some of the offenses were cleared. What do you mean by cleared?
Cleared could mean that there was an arrest in it, or that there's also other options for being cleared. There's different ways that things can be exceptionally cleared. One could be if perhaps, for example, a victim reports something and then later refuses to cooperate, then the arrest won't go through. However, we could have made an arrest on that, or it was actually a legitimate incident, so we mark that cleared.
Now, looking at OEC Exhibit 1 overall, what criminal offense has the greatest number of counts reported based on the information in this exhibit?
Larceny or thefts, as people would know them.
Can you give an example of the type of conduct that results in a person being charged with larceny or theft?
Examples would be theft of vouchers, credit over credit thefts, thefts of a lost wallet, or any other lost property.
Do the Pennsylvania State Police have any theories or explanation as to why Lady Luck has experienced more counts of larceny or theft compared to other offenses?
Many of the theft subjects that we encounter on investigations involving thefts of lost or mislaid property often indicate to PSP that they were not aware it was against the law to pick up and use a lost gaming voucher or to play gaming credits that were left unattended on a machine by another person.
Has there been any noticeable pattern in the number of theft offenses?
There appears to be less thefts year over year.
Do the Pennsylvania State Police have any theories or an explanation regarding that downward trend?
I don't have any specific theories. However, current economic restrictions due to COVID-19 may have contributed.
Are there a significant number of violent crimes at Lady Luck?
No.
Are there a significant number of crimes regarding individuals under the age of 21?
No.
Has there been a noticeable increase in any crimes since December 14th, 2016?
No.
After reviewing this data, do you see a pattern in the type of actual offenses that have occurred at Lady Luck Casino?
Our main offense is theft with a few minor drug offenses scattered in.
Now, were you present during Mr. Crosby's testimony today regarding the access pass?
Yes.
Has there been any increase in crime since the access pass requirement was removed?
No.
Now, in your opinion, are there any issues or concerns which would negatively impact Lady Luck's suitability for continued licensure?
No, there are no issues that I see that would preclude Lady Luck from continued licensure.
Thank you. I have no further questions.
Mr. Hayes?
No questions.
Any commissioners' questions? No? Okay, thank you.
Director Lloyd, I'm now going to turn it over to my co-counsel to call OEC's next witness.
Thank you. Good morning. Michelle Fogel, Fogle, Assistant Enforcement Counsel with the Office of Enforcement Counsel. OEC's next calls Joseph Grado. Can you please state and spell your name for the record?
Joseph Grado, first name Joseph, last name Grado.
And who is your current employer?
Pennsylvania Gaming Control Board.
And what is your current title with Pennsylvania Gaming Control Board?
I'm an investigator 1.
How long have you held this position?
I've held this position since April of 2018, and I was assigned case agent of Lady Luck Casino in August of 2020.
Can you please describe your current job duties as an investigator with the Bureau of Investigations and Enforcement?
Yes, I work under this direct supervision of supervisor or regional director of BIE, Pennsylvania Game Control Board, performing specific investigative duties relating to suitability investigations for licensure of gaming applicants. Investigative work includes, but is not limited to, financial and character suitability, business integrity, and alleged violations of Act 71 and other related duties as required. I prepare written reports on investigations that set forth investigative findings, and I provide testimony before hearings and appeals, the Pennsylvania Game Control Board commissioners, other courts of law, or other hearing forums. As case agent of Lady Luck, I've added responsibilities as a liaison between Lady Luck personnel and PGCB personnel regarding any matters on property.
As part of your current job duties, did you conduct the investigation into Lady Luck's application for a renewal of its Category 3 slot machine license?
Yes.
When did your investigation into Lady Luck's renewal application begin?
It began July 16th of 2021.
Can you please describe the scope of the investigation?
Sure. It's pretty comprehensive, but the main points are the honesty, integrity, and character of the applicant. I review residents, military, education, travel, and employment history. I investigate professional licensures, gaming licensures, whether the entity or the applicant is listed in the PA debarment list, New Jersey prohibited vendor list, any special conditions and or enforcement actions, compliance conferences and warning letters, any liens or judgments, civil litigation, bankruptcy history, and criminal history of the applicant. I also complete a corporation search on the Pennsylvania Department of State website. I review a credit report of the entity or the applicant, and I perform various database checks. I also reviewed the Nemacolin Woodlands federal tax returns, record of accounts for any outstanding tax liabilities owed to the IRS. I reviewed the management agreement toward the facility and interviewed the president and owner of Nemacolin Woodlands.
And when was Lady Luck's slot machine license last renewed by the board?
That was December 14th of 2016.
Did your investigation include a review of Lady Luck's Casino from the date of the last renewal to present?
Yes.
Did the Bureau of Investigations and Enforcement review the renewal application for Nemacolin Woodlands, Inc. affiliate license?
Yes.
And what was the scope of the investigation for Nemacolin Woodlands, Inc.'s application for renewal?
The scope of the investigation mirrored the scope of the investigation for Woodlands Fayette LLC.
And when was Nemacolin's affiliate license last renewed by the board?
December 14th of 2016.
Did the investigation include a review of Nemacolin Woodlands from the date of the last renewal to present?
Yes.
Mr. Grado, has the casino, resort, and management cooperated with BIE to complete its investigation?
Yes, it has.
Currently, is BIE's renewal investigation for Lady Luck's renewal application complete?
Yes.
And based on the Bureau of Investigation's review, as of today, are there any areas of interest relating to Lady Luck's renewal application?
No, there's not.
Thank you.
Any questions, Mr. Hayes?
No.
Any questions from our board members? Okay, thank you.
And that concludes OEC's presentation.
Okay, so we've already moved your exhibits. So we will move on to the public comment portion of the hearing. The board did not receive any written comment from the public as of noon yesterday. If we should receive anything postmarked by the deadline, that will be included in the record going forward. We have heard from several of the people that had registered to speak as part of Lady Luck's presentation, but we have one individual that has asked to speak, so I'll ask that George Rattay come forward. And I think you can come down here on the end, and I'm not sure that you've been sworn. Is that correct? Or were you sworn at the beginning?
No, I wasn't.
Okay, so we'll have you sworn by the court reporter.
So help me God.
And you have about 5 minutes.
Oh, it won't be that long,
Okay.
believe me. I think you heard enough in it. George Rattay, R-A-T-T-A-Y. First of all, I want to thank everybody here for giving me an opportunity on public comment. I think you've heard from the resort, you've heard from the casino, you've heard from our county commissioner, Vince Facides, you heard from the individual who handles the tourism here in Fayette County. And I did give public comment, I believe, 5 years ago. It's hard to believe. And I'm asking what you did 5 years ago, you do in your due diligence when you renew their Category 3 license, and I hope 5 years from now I'm here again to do what I'm doing today. But no, as a patron, I want to say this. I know there's a lot of facts and figures, but I could say personally I may have perfect attendance in the last 9 years. That's an ongoing joke. But no, honest, it's a blessing that I could travel to a first-class resort with the amenities and everything that the casino has benefited everybody in Fayette County. And the other thing, when they mention 160-some employees, I'm willing to bet that 160-some of those employees know me. The reason I say that, the staff, it could be from the janitor to the bartender to the waitress to the slot attendants. They are very personal. They know the clientele, and that's one thing I enjoy when I come up here compared to the other casinos. I know it's a smaller casino, but that goes a long way. They asked about your health. They asked you about your family, and likewise with me when I asked them the same questions. So, again, I hope that when you sit here, and I don't know when the decision will be rendered, you made a wise decision 5 years ago, and I think you'll make a wise decision today. And I want to thank you and have a safe trip home.
Thank you. That is it for our public speakers that I have registered. Is anyone else out there? I don't see an unfamiliar face, but if you thought you registered to speak, raise your hand. Seeing none. Mr. Hayes, do you have any closing statement?
Just briefly, Director Lloyd, on behalf of Woodlands Fayette, LLN, PA LLC, Churchill Downs, we want to thank you for the opportunity to appear before you today, both the board and the Office of Hearings and Appeals. We understand this is an important process mandated by the Act. We also want to thank the staff of the board who worked so hard in preparing for and participating in today's proceeding, including the Office of Enforcement Counsel, the casino compliance agents, the Office of Communications, the Office of Hearings and Appeal, and we also want to thank the Pennsylvania State Police for their participation here today. We're glad to hear that they share our sentiments that there's a positive working relationship at the property between the licensee, the regulator, and law enforcement. Lastly, I'd like to, on behalf of management at Lady Luck Casino, we'd like to extend an invitation if anyone from the board or staff is interested in touring the facility after today's hearing. They'd be glad to show you around at a time that works for you all. But thank you again.
Thank you. Office of Enforcement Counsel?
We have nothing further. Thank you for your time.
Okay. The record will remain open until the board hears the matter at a later public board meeting. I will prepare a summary of the report of today's events for the board, and the report along with the transcript of the hearing and all the exhibits received as well as other relevant documents will be forwarded to the board for their consideration at a later date, and they will schedule the matter to be heard at a future public board meeting at their convenience. I'd like to thank the staff of Wharton Township here for their hospitality today and allowing us to host the hearing here today, and for all of you coming today and participating and for your cooperation. And this hearing is now concluded and adjourned. Thank you.